Good day, everyone. Once again, this is your Professor Jocelyn Aguila Aglinaw. I will be discussing with you today about obligation and contract. This video is all about the nature and effects of obligation. So, we divided it in two parts. Yung part 1 will be from Articles 1163 to 1168, and the other part will be from 1169 to 73. Okay, let's start. In this article, yung 1163, it states that every person obliged to give something is also obliged to take care of it with proper diligence of a good father of the family, unless the law or the stipulation of the parties requires another standard of care. Now, in this article, ano ba yung something? So, yung something na to, this is a thing na pwedeng specific or pwedeng generic. Okay, let's discuss it one by one. Isa, pag-ibahin natin at saka discuss natin one by one. Now, the meaning of specific or determinate thing. This thing is said to be specific or determinate when it is particularly designated or physically segregated from all other of the same class. Yung specific siya, halimbawa, let me give you an example. The watch I am wearing. So, this is specific. Ito yon. Hindi mo siya pwedeng palitan ng iba, kundi etong relong gamit ko. So, the car I sold to X, yung car na binenta ko kay X. Or, pwede din namang the Innova Jade Green with plate number, for example, ABC 1234. That's specific or determinate. While generic or indeterminate thing are things when it refers only to the class or genus in which it pertains and cannot be pointed out with particularity. Halimbawa, red car, o pwede siyang Innova, pwede rin siyang Vios, pwede rin Toyota, pwede Mitsubishi. So, basta red car. Di ba? Hindi siya specific, hindi siya precise na, ito yun. Generic lang siya. Okay? You give an example. You comment down below. So the first three will get a point, additional points for recitation. Comment, give an example of a specific or determinating and generic or indeterminating. For my students, please make a comment down below. So, yung mga magko-comment will get an extra point. So, let's continue. The duties of debtor in obligation to give a determinate thing. Okay. So, preserve the thing. What do you mean by that? In obligation to give, the obligor has the incidental duty to take care of the thing due to the diligence of a good father of the family pending delivery. So, the diligence of a good father of the family, ito yung phrase na ginagamit that has been equated with ordinary care lang. Kung paano lang talaga siya i-take care or that diligence with the average or reasonable prudent. A person exercise over his own property. Parang inalagaan mo lang siya kung paano lang dapat siya alagaan. Pag sinabing another standard care, however, if the law or the stipulation of the party provides for another standard care, so it has a slight or extraordinary diligence. Said law or stipulation must prevail. Halimbawa, pag sinabing you have to take care of a thing, for example, binili yung kotse and then hindi pa siya kinukuha sa'yo but it was paid but hindi pa siya na-deliver. So, bago, dapat in your possession, pag ikaw ang binayaran, kapag hindi pa siya na-deliver, you have to take care of the car, ordinary care for the car. For example, basta hindi lang siya magagasgas, not to the point that you are going to parang ika-car wash mo na siya, i-detail mo pagdadumihan, hindi ganon. So it has an extraordinary care niya. Pag diligent of a good father, it is an ordinary care. Kaya siya tinawag na, bakit diligent of a good father. Di ba? Pag father, it is an ordinary care for the father to take care of the family. But if, for example, a mom is yung iba naman ang pag-take care niya for the family. So, it is an extraordinary. Pag sinabing ordinary care lang gagawin mo. So, under the law, for instance, a common carrier, yung for transportation or cargo, is bound to carry the passenger safely as far as the human care or foresight can provide, using utmost diligence of a very conscious person with a due regard of all the circumstances. In case of accident, therefore, the common carrier will be liable if it did not exercise only the ordinary diligence or the diligence of a good father. So, pag hindi talaga na take care yung passenger or with an ordinary diligence, yun, mag-charge syempre yung party na may hawak nun. So, the party may agree upon the diligence which is more or less than that of the good father of the family, but it is contrary to public policy to stipulate for absolute exemption from liability of the obligor for any fault or negligence in this part. So you have to take care of the ordinary care. For the factor to be considered for the diligence requires necessarily depends upon the nature of the obligation and corresponds with the circumstances of the person at of the time and of the place. It is not necessarily that the standard of care one always uses in the protection of his property. As a general rule, the debtor is not liable if he fails of or if his failure is to preserve the thing is not due to the fault or negligence but for fortuitous event or force majeure. Bigyan ko kayo ng example. Okay. For example, Sam binds himself to deliver a specific horse to be on a certain date. So, pending yung delivery, di ba? So, S has an additional or accessory duty to take care of the horse with the diligence of a good father of the family, like feeding the horse. Siyempre, kailangan niya pakainin regularly, keeping it in a safe place kasi baka wala masagasaan, di ba? So, we have to take care of the horse in an ordinary care. In other words, S must exercise that diligence which is would exercise over another horse belonging to him and which is not under obligation to deliver to B. But S cannot relieve himself from liability in case of loss by claiming that the exercise of the same degree of a careful towards the horse as he would toward his own. Parang aariin niya pa rin na kanya kahit for example, yung horse na yun ay pang-deliver na. In such care is less than the required of by the circumstances. If the horse died, o kunyari namatay naman yung, or lost, or become sick as a consequence as, of S failure to exercise proper diligence, he shall be liable for V for damages. So the accessory obligation of S is to take care of the horse is demandable even if no mention thereof to made it in a contract. Kahit wala siya sa kontrata, kailangan he has to take care of the horse diligently. So, reason for the debtor's obligation. Ano ba yung mga rason? So, the debtor must exercise diligence to ensure that the thing to be delivered would subsist in the same condition as it was when the obligation was contracted. So, kailangan ma-deliver niya yung thing doon sa bumili or sa kakontrata niya, same way with the condition na nag-uusap sila without the accessory duty to take care of the thing. So the debtor would be able to afford being negligent if he would not be liable for the property or loss or destroy, thus rendering illusory of the obligation to give, diba? Num- Number two is to deliver the fruit of the thing. This is under 1164 naman. Yung delivery of accessions and accessory, this will be discussed in 1166. Tapos, delivery of the thing itself under this article, 1163, under 1233, 1244, as to the kind of delivery. Pwede rin natin tingnan yung Articles 1497 to 1501. And the answer for damages in case of non-failure or breach is discussed under Article 1170. So madadaanan natin to lahat. So what is the duty now or the obligation to take care of the thing due? Okay. To the diligence of a good father of family, the phrase has, na-discuss ko na to sa inyo kanina. So, the phrase has been equated with ordinary care lang. So, exercise the proper way to take care of the thing na handle nyo pa, na hindi pa na-deliver. But it is already contracted. So, another standard of care is that if there is a provision or another standard to take care of the said law or stipulation shall prevail. Okay? Yun ang masusunod. Yung stipulation or contract between the two. So, the obligation to take care of the thing due, yung factors to be considered, parang na-discuss ko na to sa inyo kanina, no? Pero, anyway, the diligence requires depend upon the nature of the obligation and corresponds with the circumstances of a person or of the time or of the place. So it depends. As a general rule, the debtor is not liable for the failure to preserve the thing. The thing is not, if it is not due to his fault or negligence, but to perpetuous event or force majeure. So the reason for the debtor's obligation, the debtor must exercise diligence to ensure that the thing to be delivered would subsist in the same condition as it was in the obligation contracted. So kung ano yung pinag-usapan na i-deliver, the same condition shall be present during delivery. So what is the duty of the de- debtor in obligation to deliver a generic thing naman? So to deliver a thing which is of the quality intended by the parties taking into consideration the purpose of the obligation and other circumstances, and to be liable for damages in case of fraud, negligence, or delay in the performance of his obligation, or contravention of the tenure thereof. So, yung fraud or negligence or delayed ay liability na ng debtor. Okay. Now, as we have mentioned, yung delivery of the fruit of the thing will be discussed in 1164. So Article 1164, the creditor has the right to the fruits of the thing from the time of the obligation to deliver it arises. However, he shall acquire no real right over it until the same has been delivered to him. So what are the different kinds of fruits? Number one is the natural fruit are the spontaneous product of the soil and the young and other products of animal. Example, halimbawa, yung all trees and plants on land produced without the intervention of human labor. Ito yung natural fruit to. Yung hindi kumbaga hindi tinanim ng tao, basta nandiyan na siya. It will belong to the creditor. So kailangan i-deliver. Number two is the industrial fruit are those produced by land of any kind through cultivation or labor. Yung mga itinanim naman. Example, yung sugarcane, vegetable, rice, and other product of land brought about by reason of human labor. Diba? Itinanim siya. So, it is an industrial fruit. Yun. Pag civil fruits are those delivered by virtue of juridical relation. So, for example, ng civil fruit, yung renta ng building, yung price of lease of land and other property, and the amount of perpetual or life annuities or other similar income. Yung mga ano na civil fruit, ito yung mga renta. May building, yung renta ang tawag doon ay civil fruit. Okay. The right of the creditor to the fruit. For example, nakabili ka ng lupa. May dati nang nakatanim na, for example, langka. Diba? Hindi naman niya itinanim. So, iyo yan. So, the creditor is entitled to the fruit of the thing to be delivered from the time of the obligation to make the delivery arises. The intention of the law is to protect the interest of the obligee should the obliger commit delay purposely or otherwise in the fulfillment of his obligation. So, dito, the right of the creditor, in case of recession naman, the parties are under obligation to return the thing which were the object of the contract together with their fruits and price with interest. So when obligation to deliver the fruit arises, Generally, the obligation to deliver the thing due and consequently the fruit thereof, if any, arises from the time of the perfection of the contract. Perfection in this case refer to the birth of the contract or the meeting of minds between two parties. It is under Article 1305, 1315, and 1319. For example, nakapag-agree na kayo na nabibilhin yung isang thing, and then may fruit, it will be for the creditor. If the obligation is subject to a suspensive condition or period, it arises upon the fulfillment of the condition or arrival of the term. However, the parties may make a stipulation to the contrary as regard to the right of the creditor for the fruit of the thing. In contrary to sales, the obligation arises from the perfection of the contract even if the obligation is subject to a suspensive condition or the suspensive period where the price has been paid. Nabayaran na ha. In obligation to give naman arises from law, the quasi-contract delict or quasi-delict. The time of the performance is determined by the specific provision of the law. So, for example, balik tayo dun sa horse natin kaninang example, di ba? Wait lang. Wait. Ay, balik. Okay. Di ba, S sold his horse to be at 15,000. No date or condition was stipulated for the delivery of the horse. Hindi nila minention, basta binili ni B kay S yung horse. So, walang date ng delivery. While still on the possession of S, the horse give birth. Nanganak na ngayon yung horse. Kanino ngayon mapupunta yung colt or yung horse? O comment down below. I will give points to those who will comment. The first three lang ha, for my students in UCC, Visayas. Please comment down below. In the here's the answer. In the contract to sell, all the fruit shall pertain to the bendi from the day on which the contract was perfected. This is at the second paragraph of Article 1537. Hence, B is entitled for the colt. So, si B ang magmamayari nung anak nung horse. This holds true even if the delivery is subject to a suspensive condition or a suspensive period. If B has paid the price, halimbawa, binayaran na ni B yung horse kay S at nanganak sa possession pa ni S, kay B pa rin ang horse. But S has the right to the colt if it was born before the obligation to deliver the horse has arises. Ito naman, ito yung nandito sa Article 1164. And B has not yet paid for the horse purchase price. Halimbawa, sinabi lang ni B na, o sige, bibili ko yan. Hindi niya binayaran, nakapanganak yung kabayo. So, yung fruit will still be on the kay S pa rin siya. In this case, upon the fulfillment of the condition or the arrival of the period, S does not have to give the colt to B and is not obliged to pay legal interest on the price since the colt and the interest are deemed to be have mutually compensated. So hindi pa siya nababayaran. Pag hindi pa nabayaran yung kabayo at nanganak, doon pa rin sa nagmamay-ari ng kabayo, and therefore the horse will still remain to the nagbebenta. Okay? Now, naputol ako dun Anyway, meaning of personal right and real right. Now, give me an example of a personal right and a real right. Give me an example. Comment down below, guys. First three. What is the difference pala between the two? Nabigay ko na ba? Nawala ako dun Okay, anyway. Just in case na-discuss ko, ulitin ko na lang ulit So, pag personal right is this, it is the right or power of a person to demand from another. Pag pag real right, it is the right or interest of a person over the specific thing without a definite passive subject against whom the right may be personally be enforced. Example, I don't know if naano ko na to na baka naulit. Anyway, mahirap talaga pag may sumisingit na bata no? X is the owner of a parcel of land under Torrens entitled register in the registry of property. His ownership is the real right directed against everybody. Siya yung nakapangalan. There is no definite passive subject. If the land is claimed by Y, who takes possession, or X has a personal right to recover it from Y as a definite passive subject of the property. If the same land is mortgaged by X to Z naman, the mortgage, if duly registered, is binding against the third person. A purchaser buys the land subject to mortgage, which is the real right. So now, how do we acquire ownership by delivery or ownership acquired by delivery? So ownership and other real right over the property are acquired and transmitted in the consequence of certain contracts by tradition. It is stated in Article 712 or delivery. In sales, for example, the agreement on the term does not affect the transfer of ownership of the thing sold to the in the absence of delivery. The actual constructive of the thing. The meaning of the phrase, he shall acquire no real right over it until same has been delivered to him, is that the creditor does not become the owner until the specific things has been delivered to him. However, when there has been no delivery yet, the proper court action of the creditor is not one to recover of possession and the ownership, but the specific performance or recession of the obligation. This is discussed in 1165. Okay. Example pa. Balikan natin yung horse natin kanina. Okay. S is obliged to give to B on July 25 a particular horse. So, ibibigay ni S kay B yung horse July 25. Before July 25, si B has no right over the horse. B will just acquire the personal right against S to fulfill his obligation only from July 25. Okay? If the horse is delivered on July 30, B acquires the ownership or real right only from that date, yung date na dineliver. But if on July 20, S sold and delivered the same horse to C, the third person, meaning that he is not party on the contract between S and B, wala sa kay C na ibinenta at dineliver, who acted in good faith without the knowledge of the said contract, C acquires the ownership over the horse and he shall be entitled to it as against B. Okay? S shall be liable for B for damages. Halimbawa, nagkabentahan, di ba? O, i-deliver ni S si horse kay C, ay kay B, July 30 or July 25. July 20, di ba? Hindi binenta ngayon ni S kay C yung horse. In good faith, binili ngayon ni C. Dahil hindi niya naman alam na nagkaroon na ng contract between S and B. Diba? So, S will uh, S will be liable for B for damages. Pero si C acquires the ownership na over the horse kasi binayaran niya na at saka na-deliver na sa kanya. Okay? Next, 1165. Sa 1165, when what is to be delivered is a determinate thing, the creditor, in addition to the right granted him in Article 1170, may compel the debtor to make the delivery. If the thing is indeterminate or generic, he may ask that the obligation be compelled with at the expense of the debtor. If the obligor delays or has promised to deliver the same thing to two or more persons who do not have the same interest, he shall be responsible for fortuitous event until he has uh, eff- effected the delivery. Okay. What is the remedy for creditor in real obligation? The remedy of creditor in real obligation. Number one, in a specific real obligation, the creditor may exercise the following remedies. Okay. Number one, demand the specific performance or fulfillment of the obligation with the right to indemnify for damages. So, may damages to. Demand the recession or cancellation, rescission or cancellation in certain cases of the obligation, also with the right to recover damages under Article 1170. Now, and then, he may also demand payment of damages only when it is not a feasible remedy. In an obligation to deliver a determinate thing, the very thing itself must be delivered. Okay, pag determinate or specific, kailangan yun talaga ang i-deliver nyo. Consequently, only the debtor can be comply with the obligation. This is the reason why the creditor is granted the right to compel the debtor to make the delivery. Diba? It is under 1165 at the paragraph 1, 'di ba naman na ano natin kanina na binasa ko sa inyo kanina na when what is to be delivered is determinate, the creditor, in addition to the right granted by this article, may compel the debtor to deliver it immediately. It should be made clear, however, that the law does not mean that the creditor can be forced or violate upon the debtor. The creditor must bring the matter to court and the court will be the one to order the delivery. Okay. Pag ang obligation naman, mamaya bigyan ako ng example. Obligation is a generic or real obligation can be performed by the third person since the subject is expressed only according to the family or genus. It does not necessarily for the creditor to compel the debtor to make the delivery, although he may ask for the performance of the obligation. In this case, the creditor has the right to recover the damages under 1170 in case of breach or violation of the obligation in manner of compliance with the obligation to deliver the generic thing in governed by Article 1246. Okay. Now, give I'm going to give you an example yung sa specific real obligation, yung remedies. Halimbawa, S, yung, for example, S sell his piano to B. Binenta niya yung piano kay B for 20,000. If S refuse to comply with the obligation to deliver the piano, B can bring an action for fulfillment or recession of the obligation, which the payment of damages or either case. In case in case of rescission, the party must return to each other what they have received. Ito yung Article 1385. Halimbawa, naka-receive si, di ba binibenta ni S yung piano na kay B for 20,000. Naka-receive na kunyari si S ng pera. Tapos, napagawa na ni S yung sira ng piano ni B. So, kailangan isoli nila pareho yung na-incurred o na gastos nila doon. So, the right to demand fulfillment and rescission with damages under Articles 1170 are alternative, not cumulative. Example, the election of one is a waiver of right to resort to another, or B may bring an action for damages only even if this is not expressly mentioned in Article 1165. And also, we have to look at 1170. Okay. Guys, if you have any question, you can comment down below. So we will discuss it during our classroom discussion. Okay. I'm going to give you also an example of the generic real obligation. For example, S oblige himself to deliver to be 100 sacks of rice on December 4 for 50,000. If S does not comply with the obligation, B may buy the rice from C, a third person, hindi sa kanila pareho. Halimbawa, si S, nag-promise siya kay B na, o sige B, dadalang kita ng isang sakong bigas sa December 4. Ngayon, hindi nagawa ngayon ni S na makapag-deliver kay B ng 100 bigas, na isang lang sakong bigas. Pwede ngayong bumili si B kahit kanino, kay C, the third person, ng kakulangan doon sa bigas na in-order niya kay S. So, if B paid 55,000, he may recover 5,000 from S. Therefore, B can also hold S liable for damages in view of Article 1170 in the case that the delivery of a determinating of a determinate thing. Okay? When when debtor delays or he promised delivery to separate creditor. So in paragraph 3, refer we will refer to paragraph 3 of the determinating. An indeterminating cannot be an object of destruction by fortuitous event because genus quantum perti or genus never perishes. Okay. The delay is discussed in 1169 and the fortuitous event on Article 1174. So, next chapter na to, yung fortuitous event. Okay. So, under 1166, the obligation to give a determinate thing includes that includes that of the delivering all its accession and accessories even though they don't have been mentioned. Halimbawa, syempre, kapag bumili ka ng cellphone, kailangan may charger. Di ba? O, ano yung charger? Accession or accessories? Yun. Let's discuss this one right now. What is the meaning now of accession and accessories? Now, accession are the fruits of or addition to or improvement upon a thing. Yung principal, yung mga improvement. That's accession. The concept includes accession in this three form of building, planting, and uh, sowing. The accession natural such as alluvium, ablution, change of course or river, and formation of land. Accessory are things joined to or included with the principal thing of the latter in perishes before use or completion. Okay. For example ng accession, yung accession are fruits of a thing or addition to the improvement upon a thing or the principal. Halimbawa, house or lease of a land, rent of a building, air conditioning air conditioner of in a car, profit or dividends accruing from share of stock. For example, bumili ka ng house, yung trees on the land, yun yung accession. Pag accessory are things to be joined or included in the principal. So, halimbawa, yung susi ng bahay. Siyempre, pag bumili ka, may pinto na yon, may susi ang bahay, kailangan nyo ibigay. Frame ng picture, siyempre kasama na yung frame, hindi lang picture. Bracelet ng relo, alam nga naman bibili ka ng relo, yung watch lang talaga, walang bracelet, so kasama yung bracelet. Machineries in a factory, diba? Kapag bumili ka ng pabrika, yung machineries na, included na yan. Yung violin, yung bow of violin, dapat kasama. Parang cellphone. Kapag bumili ka ng cellphone, ang mga accessories niyan, kailangan kasama. Kasi paano siya gagana kung wala yung mga accessory. Ang kotse, pag bumili ka ng kotse, kasama na dapat ang spare tires. Note that while accession are not necessary to the principal thing, the accessory and the principal thing must go together. Okay. Both can exist only in relation to the principal. Accession is also used in the sense of a right, the right of to the fruit, and and or the accessories to a thing. Okay. So the right of creditor to accession and accessory. Ano ba ang right ni creditor nung bumili? Okay. As a general rule, all all accession and accessories are considered included in the obligation to deliver the determinate thing, although they may not have been mentioned. Hindi siya minimension, pero pa syempre, pag nagbenta ka, kasama siya. This rule is based on the principle of the law, and the accessory follows the principle. So, accessory follows the principle. Tatandaan niyo yan lagi. Accessory follows the principle. In order that they will be excluded, there must be stipulation to that effect. So, kailangan kung halimbawa hindi siya kasali, there must be a stipulation. Unless otherwise provided in the stipulation, an obligation to deliver the accession or accessory of a thing does not include the latter. Therefore, if a seal of the improvement upon the land is not sufficient to convey the title of any rights of the land, but the list of the building or the house naturally includes the list of the lot on which it is constructed, for the possession of the lot is implied in the list of improvement. Okay. Naintindihan mo yung class? Comment down below ha. Accession as a right. Okay. Wait. So, accession as a right. Accession as a right muna tayo. Accession can be defined the right pertaining to the owner of the thing over its product and whatever it incorporated or attached thereto, either naturally or artificially. It is one of the rights which go to make up dominion or ownership, but under the law, it is not a mode of acquiring ownership. Okay. Next, Article 1167. 1167, if a person obliged to do something fails to do it, the same shall be executed at his cost. This this same rule shall be observed if he does it in contravention in the tenure of the obligation. Furthermore, it may be decreed that what has been poorly done be undone. Okay. Paano ba to? Okay. The remedies, wait, before we go to the remedies, yung stipulation contemplated in this article, yung 1167, Article 1167 refers to an obligation to do, to perform an act, to render a service. Excuse me. It contemplates three situations. Okay. The debtor fails to perform the obligation to do. Tandaan, debtor hindi niya nagawa o naibigay yung service na dapat na ibibigay niya. The debtor performs an obligation to do but contrary to the term and condition. For example, yung number one, hindi niya nagawa ang dapat niya gawin. Number two, nagawa niya pero hindi yun yung tamang dapat gawin. Halimbawa, gusto kong kulayan mo tong kwarto ko ng pink. Pero gusto ko kulayan mo 'tong kwarto ko ng pink kasi Valentine's today, yan. Pero ang ikinulay ngayon ni debtor, itim. So, ginawa niya naman pero hindi tama. Pangatlo, the debtor performs an obligation to do but in poor manner. Halimbawa, ginawa niya ng pink pero ang usapan namin po siya pink, ang ikinulay niya lang ay light pink. Ganon. So what will be the remedy? Ito. Yan. What will be the remedy of creditor in positive personal obligation? If the debtor fails to comply with the obligation to do, the creditor has the right to have the obligation performed by himself or by another unless a personal consideration are involved in the debtor's expense. And number two, to recover damages. Siyempre, pwede mag-recover ng damages si creditor under Article 1170. In case the obligation is done in countervene of the term of the same or poorly done, it may be ordered by the court upon complaint that it be undone if it is still possible to undo what was done. Okay. Pwede sabihin ng korte o ah, tanggalin mo, di ba? Ibang magagawa niyan. Parang gano'n. Yan. Ito yung tatlong sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina. Situation contemplated in 11. Ginawa, hindi ginawa, number one, hindi ginawa o hindi nagawa. Number two, nagawa pero mali. Number three, nagawa pero in poor manner. Okay. Performance by a third person. Pag ginawa na siya ng ibang tao na hindi na pinagawa doon sa debtor na kakontrata niya, a person of personal obligation to do like a real obligation to deliver generic thing can be performed by a third person, while the debtor can be compelled to make the delivery of the specific thing. A specific performance cannot be ordered in a personal obligation to do because this may amount to involuntary servitude, which, as a rule, is prohibited by the the Constitution. 'Di ba? Hindi siya pwedeng pilitin kung ano yung ayaw niyang gawin kasi it is against the law. But the personal qualification of the debtor are the determining motive for the obligation contracted. The performance of the same by another would be impossible or would result to be or so different from the obligation could not be considered performance. So, the only feasible remedy for the creditor is indemnify for damages, but where the obligation can still be performed at the expense of the debtor, notwithstanding his failure or refusal to do so. The court is not authorized merely to grant damages to the creditor. Now, example, halimbawa, ito si X binds himself to construct a house of 4B. Among other things, it was stipulated that the house shall have 3 bedrooms, each of which to have an area of 5 meter by 4, that the kitchen shall be painted with white. Ito ginawa niya. If X does not construct the house, B may ask C to construct the house at the expense of X. Okay. Suppose X constructed the house by the size of the bedroom, not 5 by 4, for the kitchen is not to be painted with all white. In this case, B can ask to have it done according to specification. If X refuses, the obligation may be performed by C on the expense of X. Okay. Now, if the kitchen was painted white but the painting was poorly done, halimbawa gusto mo makintab na puti, ang nilagay niya flat, B may ask X that it be undone, or in this case, X refusal, he may ask C to paint the kitchen at the expense of X. So si X ang magbabayad. In no case, however, can X be compelled against his will to comply with the obligation should he refuse to do so. If the obligation contracted by X is to sing in the nightclub and B, he fails to comply with this obligation, the performance of the same by another would be impossible or would result to be so different from the obligation that could be considered a performed. Here, the personal qualification of X is determining motive to construct. In this case, the only particular remedy of B is to indemnify for damages. Okay. Okay, under 1168. Ayan. Second to the last. Last na pala tayong article. When the obligation consists is not doing and the obligor does not does what has been forbidden him, it shall also be undone at his expense. For example, okay, eto. Wait lang muna. Eto. Um, Remedy of creditor in negative personal obligation. Kanina, positive personal obligation, ngayon negative. The remedy, as a rule, the remedy of the obligee, sorry for the typo, is to undo the forbidden thing plus damages. If not possible to be undone, action for damages caused by debtor's violation of his obligation. So example na lang para mas malinaw. B bought a land from S. So bumili ng lupa si B kay S. It is stipulated that S would not construct a fence. Hindi niya babakuran ang certain portion of his land yung nakadugtong doon sa nabili ni B. Kasi si S nagbenta ng lupa kay B. Pero kapag nagbakod si S, matatabunan niya o walang right of way na si B. So nag-promise si S na hindi niya babakuran. So should S construct a fence in violation of their agreement, sasabihin ni S, ay teka lang, yan lang naman ang binenta ko sa'yo. Di ba bakuran ko naman yung akin? Can be can we bring the action to court for the removal of the fence DS? Yes or no? O comment down from my students. Okay. So, here, B can bring an action to have the fence removed at the expense of S. Kahit kay S pa yan. B has the right doon sa right of way na nabili niya kay S. Yun. Kasi binili niya yung lote, matatakpan ng fence ni S. Ito yung doon sa 1158, di ba? 1156, I'm sorry. Di ba ang meaning ng obligation is to do, to give, or not to do. Ito yung not to do. Kahit pag-aaring mo yung lote. Kapag habitual na ginagawa na ng mga tao or property mo yung nasa likod na binenta mo or under stipulation, Ito yung not to do. You are not allowed to fence a land of your own in consideration doon sa likod na binenta mo if it is stipulated. And if it is habitually done by the person or the people na dumadaan talaga doon at gusto mo na siyang bakuran, this is the obligation na ito yung sa meaning na to do, to give, or not to do. Yung not to do, eto yun. Na you don't have to fence kahit sa'yo yung lote na yan. This is the not to do obligation. Okay? So, umabot na tayo ng isang oras, guys. How many plus points did you collect from our discussion? Anyway, um, ayaw na. Wait, ayaw na. Ayaw na mag-appear. Nakikita niyo ba? Thank you very much. I am your professor once again, Jocelyn Aguila Aglina. Hope you subscribe and click the notification bell so every time I'm going to upload a video, first kayo makakaalam and syempre, first kayo magko-comment to get the additional points for our syempre grades din nyo sa recitation. That's all for today, guys. Good day and have a great day ahead of you guys. See you next meeting.